Welcome to Podlygamists, the Sister Wives Rewatch podcast.
We sit down each week and recap an episode of TLC's longest-running reality show, following the Browns, a Mormon polygamous family originating in Lehi, Utah.
I'm Samantha Kaiser.
And I'm Haley Graff.
And this is Podlygamists,
Season 3, Episode 3.
Welcome back again. Today's episode is titled 4 Houses, 4 Relationships. And the description is that Kody and Robyn rush to see a midwife after Robyn notices spotting. So that is like just the very beginning of this episode, which is where we left off last week.
With our cliffhanger.
So basically, we start off back at the clinic, and we kind of get like a little bit of a recap of what's happened. Basically, they got the Doppler out to try to find the heartbeat of Robyn's baby because she's concerned about a miscarriage, and they're not able to find it. Which is scary. They actually remain really calm. I noticed she didn't like break down after they couldn't find it with the Doppler.
Yeah.
But then they get out like a little mini ultrasound machine, and they're able to find it on there. So everything's okay.
They could actually see the little baby on it move.
Yeah. She's 10 weeks along, and it just, I guess what happened, they suspect that like the placenta bled a little bit, and so that's what she was noticing, and then he was just so far down, the baby. Oh, I guess we didn't do a gender reveal yet, did we? The baby was so far down.
Well, I think we said, like, in our first episode this season, I think we already said, it's Solomon, so, and I didn't cut it, so.
Oh, okay, I was, okay, great, so he's so far down that they couldn't find it with just the audio. They had to find it visually, and everything's okay. So they're relieved, and that's when they kind of break down and like,
that kind of moved me. That was emotional for me watching them, how relieved they were, and then to actually just crying and like happy. Really, it was nice to see. Like, and then Meri was super worried too, so they called her right away to be like, "Baby's okay, everything's fine." So
yeah, that did. This whole little sequence really did get me. I just, even in the interview, because when they're doing those couch confessional things, this happened, that's much later than when these events happen. And even then, Kody's like in tears describing this whole scenario, and like, got me a little choked up just watching just their fear and, that whole scenario. But thankfully, everything's okay.
Yeah.
And they're very relieved.
Yeah.
We take a hard right turn and we're furniture shopping. So it's like, okay.
Shake it off. Trauma over with.
Let me just wipe my tears and get pumped about furniture shopping.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess basically when they left Utah, they had left so much of their stuff behind that they're really like slumming it with their furniture currently. They look like someone like is it Meri's house where it's a card table and a beanbag chair in her living room.
I was like, I know it's just her and Leo there, but like, that's not like a room I'd want to hang out in.
No, it was really sad. It was a TV on a card table and like a beanbag chair in the corner.
And you know what I found funny is that Meri's like measuring the doorways and measuring the room and stuff for buying furniture. And Christine comes over and she's like all excited. She's like, "We're going to go furniture shopping." And then she's like, "What are you doing?" And Meri's like, "Well, I'm just measuring." And she was like, "Oh my God, wow, I never thought of that." And Meri's like, "Really? Like you're just going to buy something and hope it fits, I guess? What do you..."
Yeah, Meri's like, "I just got to finish measuring." She goes, "What you measuring?" She's like, The room
fit the furniture. I mean, that's kind of important, but
it was funny. It was very like Christine.
Yeah.
And so like they all have like budget for one room that they can redo furniture wise in their homes, and so they've all kind of picked. Robyn's doing her bedroom. Janelle's and Meri are both doing their living rooms to make it more comfortable for the kids. Basically, Janelle's kind of like worried about making a space that's going to benefit her kids. And then Christine's never had a bedroom set, so she's very excited to get her own bedroom set and have her me space. Which, current day, it's interesting because like she talks in most recent seasons about her room being her like sacred space and her space. And we see that bed set that she buys today. So it felt very like, it's just so funny how these people, they do give us clues. They have no idea what's going to happen in 11 years, but they do give us clues.
I know,
You know
and
what I
that's
mean?
like because it's not scripted. This is not like a plotted out show. Yeah, there's probably like little moments that are set up, by producers that aren't exactly organic or anything, but they're not. I mean, we're watching their lives though still.
Yeah.
And so then to just see those little seeds planted of things and to make those connections
Breadcrumbs.
from what is like over a decade ago now, it's just funny to see that
Yeah.
a reality show.
Yeah.
Well,
They
they're
go
like,
to,
and so they go and look at Robyn's room because she was kind of showing them like what she wants to do. And they basically, I mean, their nightstands are like cardboard boxes stacked up with like a lamp on it. So, I mean, because Kody's like, yeah, it's like very, very newlyweds, like it just, we don't have furniture and stuff of our own. And then Robyn's like, I sensed that some of my sister wives were very uncomfortable being in my room. And like Meri was kind of like, well, as long as Kody's there, I feel like it's fine. Whatever, it's still your space and my space, my room, whatever. But Janelle and Christine, yeah, seem kind of like, I don't really want to go in your room, like where you also sleep with my husband.
Yeah, well, Christine was like fine with it, but she goes, "I don't want you in my room, but I'm happy to." I didn't really care about your room, and then Janelle's like, "Yeah, no, it's kind of weird and gross," and then Meri kind of seemed not. She's like, "We can hang out in there as long as Kody's not also there," and then they talk about how like, "Oh, I wouldn't want to go to my mother's room either, or my sister's room, or whatever," and it's like, I don't know if that's like if that's like a typical thing or not. I guess like it's not a situation I've really been in.
I mean, I think it depends probably on context. Like, I mean, if again, like how Meri was saying, like if Kody's not there, and they're not like, oh, we're going to bed, close the door. I don't.
Yeah.
It's still just like their space. Like if you want to hang out in there, I don't.
Yeah. I mean, I get that it's like it is just regardless of like Kody, it is like their space, like their space is kind of like
trying to be respectful of like their privacy and stuff. But I mean, again, like Meri says, like if he's not there, I don't know that it has to be like a
weird thing.
Yeah, like that's more just something like in their head if they make it weird or not, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's like however you're kind of perceiving it.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was kind of a funny little, just a very small snippet, but very interesting. It's again kind of the thing of like when they all get when one of them gets pregnant, it's like a confirmation of the physical thing, and it's like, yeah, I guess you're living in denial otherwise. Like that's what we're talking about, like when the denial can't be present any longer.
They take those thoughts and they put them in a little box and then just shove them in the back of their head and don't think about it.
That's like the Mormon saying, right? They put it on a shelf. Put it
on the shelf.
Flip it off like a light switch.
Mm-hmm.
So then we all caravan over to Colleen's classic consignment furnishings.
Oh, you caught the name.
I did. I screenshot it and then zoomed in so I could see this because I was like, I gotta see this. Because when they said it, I didn't really care. I was like, it's whatever furniture store. But then when they said it was all used furniture, I was like, that's a humongous used furniture store. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
And so I was curious about what it was called because actually I was gonna look it up, which I didn't, and now I am. To see if Colleen's classic
still there.
Colleen's classic consignment. I was just really impressed with their selection, with how big that store was. I was like,
I really wouldn't have thought it was a used store, to be honest. Like, they had some good looking stuff.
Permanently closed. That's a shame.
I bet the pandemic got them.
Could be it could be any number of things, and it has got pretty bad reviews on. Maybe
closed. Maybe their salesman Theo stopped working there, and it just went downhill.
Theo was a goddamn delight. Right?
So I found him a delight later. At first, I was like, oh, I don't know about this, because Theo comes up and he's like, do you guys need help or anything? And he's like, do you want me to tag along? And Kody's like, yes. And I'm like, that would drive me nuts if I had some salesman tagging along. And then all I could think of was like Dwight when he's working at Staples or whatever. And he's like, I will literally be standing right over here if you need anything. And I'm like, you can go, sir. Like, I can look without you. But later I did really enjoy Theo. So it was good he was tagging along.
I thought Theo was delightful. It's funny because Kody's like, Theo has an understanding of interior design. I'm like, he just sells used couches. I don't know if that makes him qualified to design your home,
Right.
sir. Like he's just very like. I mean, I appreciate it's kind of cool that Cody's one of those guys that he does give people who are doing their job a lot of credit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like he's like,
He like talks them up more than the average person would, where it's like you could
yeah,
just be like, Leo's a used furniture salesman, you know, whatever, and Cody's like, he's a savant, you know, like
he's an expert.
yeah,
He's an expert in these furnishings and how to decorate your home with them. And then
Cody should write Yelp reviews, I think.
He should. You're right. He could have saved Colleen's classic consignment.
Right? Dang it.
It's the same thing of like Mona really knows her stuff. Or it's just always, you know what
She's
I mean?
just
It's
got
like
this sense about her that she just knows what you're looking, you know, like he's just very
Yep. He's very bright. He's just like
my dad does that
nice.
with like when my mom cooks something and she always gets so like kind of embarrassed / annoyed, but it's sort of like it's a compliment because he'll be like, honey, this is incredible. I feel like we're eating at a 5-star restaurant. And I always joke with them. I'm like, oh, it's like the angels themselves made this meal, right? Like, you know, because he's just so like effusive with his praise about it. So it's like,
aww,
yeah. And she's just
really
like,
sweet.
okay, thank you. Yep, I got it. Thanks. It's good.
Is it sincere or is it him kind of teasing her?
He's sincere.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. I was like, oh, you're kind of a dork, but okay. Like, you mean it.
Oh, that is darling. I wrote down that Theo's our salesman who kind of, like you said, tags along with the family. I wrote that he's got Dave Chappelle character energy.
You know what? A little bit, yeah. I could see that.
Yeah, his cadence and like his kind of like
his mannerisms and stuff. Yeah,
just kind of reminded me. He kind of had like the bright kind of face, like that really like alert kind of look, like he does. I don't know. I just thought he could be a character on the Chappelle show. He's like, one man shopping with 4 women. And he's like, don't you, and Kody, of course, his thing, don't you feel bad for me? It's like, no one feels bad for you, Kody. Stop.
No one feels bad for you, man.
The funny little, like, kind of throwaway line that Cody's kind of like, oh, you won't even look to Janelle. He says, you won't even look at bedroom sets with me? And she's like, I don't really feel like it's in the budget. Like, she's very, like, a stick. Can you hear the vacuum now?
Only slightly.
My goodness.
Boy, he's just, like, doing stuff today.
That's his thing, but usually he gets that all done before we record. He gets home at like 3:30 and usually vacuums, puts away dishes, blah blah blah. Wow. But since he was outside doing the gutters first,
he's like, okay, I gotta do it now. So
now it's like delayed. So anyways, so Kody and Janelle, it's funny because Cody's kind of saying him and Janelle relate like two guys, like don't really understand decorating, don't really care about decorating. We talk business. Like that was his whole like.
But yeah, I mean, because they do have their relationship is more of a friendship than any of the other wives with Kody. So like, yeah, I can see that they relate in a different way, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because now they're both unemployed. They kind of also talk about how now they're exploring their relationship and they found that it's very romantic, they say. And I think that is darling and made me laugh.
And Janelle got all like embarrassed though.
I think it's quite romantic, Kody
and
says.
She's like,
oh.
I'm uncomfortable you saying that in front of my sister wives.
Yeah. She's maybe the most like conservative in that way where it's like.
Well, because again, she doesn't like the PDA and stuff that we've seen. Like that she's like, it took me, 17 years to figure out Kody likes PDA. Like, yeah. So yeah, I mean, she's a little more, and I say it's like she's got a little more like masculine traits of that independence and like the wanting to work and stuff, and not saying gender wise, but just traditional masculine. Yeah. She doesn't want to be like taking care of the house and stuff. She doesn't like the decorating. She's even said like Christine decorated most of her house back home, like so they just relate differently, and so now they're having to figure out a different way to have their relationship, which is interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. Okay, I wrote that Meri picks the fuggliest couch. It's like, and you know what? That is the couch. She must return the couch, right?
Oh my God, does she?
From her living room. She must, because seriously, I saw it. I'm like, that's her couch from her living room. I wrote it down. And it's a couch. It's got like mixed. What would we call it? What would we call that? Like mixed mediums.
Yeah, mixed media
It's like
is a good way to
paisley,
put it.
yes. It's like there's like a paisley like sort of fabric, and then like leather, and then like those big like furniture like nails, like those big
The big
bold like
tacks.
tacks. Yes, you would know this language. I don't know
My
it one.
parents are upholsters, so yes.
So yeah, that was a trend like early 2000s. Those big,
Mm-hmm.
huge tacks. It was supposed to, I think, look like make it look classy and like well
Yeah.
made. If it has these big, round, tacks in them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was one fugly couch, and she loved it.
And she was the only one
Um,
who did, because Kody came up and she's like, "Don't you love it?" And he was like, he's like, "I don't know. My first thought was like grandma's house." Like,
yeah, it didn't even give me
it didn't
grandma
give me
energy. It just
grandma
gave me. It was
vibes,
just
but it was like
yeah,
maybe stuffy rich person who thinks that they're being fashionable and it's not so much.
yeah, and like in 2005 or
Yeah,
something too. Like it's
definitely
like
dated.
yeah, those dark paisley fabrics mixed, and then on some parts, and then leather, and then yeah, it was just like
Yeah, I really just don't.
but
And like, like the pillows with like the little fringe tassel things in the
yeah, like
corners.
tassels,
I don't know.
like fake luxury kind
Yeah,
of
like
thing. Yeah,
tacky, cheap
yeah,
luxury. Like,
yeah.
but she legitimately
Um,
liked that one.
love that one, and well, I guess we come back to the Mary's couch search, because we hear from Theo next, right?
Yes.
Theo, and the reason I paused for so long was because I was like looking at that word, and I was like, I was getting Theo and Leo mixed up, and I was like, Leo wasn't in this scene. I was like, so like, what was I writing
Similar
about here?
names.
But it's Theo is the name of the furniture sales guy once again, who reminds me of Dave
Mhm.
Chappelle, and they do the thing that they always do when the Browns are out in public. We're like, what do you think about the Browns? Like, did you judge them? Like, the producers are like, so what'd you think about serving polygamists? And it's like the guy at the ice cream store. It's like, I don't know. Gave them their ice cream like everybody else. Like,
I didn't think about it too much.
they're asking,
They were a
yeah,
customer.
like what they do every time. It's what they do with Mona. It's what they do with, it's just like always.
Right.
Um, but basically, he has a real sweet little line about like, he's like, I don't judge them. They're, I've served a lot of families. They're the most unique ones, but I don't really judge them. And he says, being a man of color, I know how it feels to be painted with a broad brush. And I was like,
Yeah. That's where, and then I was like, oh, okay, I do like Theo. I was a little like, you've been taking a lot, I don't know about this, pushy salesman. No, I was like, nah, Theo's cool. Like, and yeah, I mean, that's a really great point, because, people are going to make assumptions about him being, like he said, a man of color, which are probably not correct, given what little we've even learned about Theo.
I don't know Theo, but I feel like he certainly doesn't fit any like
negative stereotypes
that people have for him. Yeah, he seems like a real delight. And also like very like personable and really great at his job. He's offering them all kinds of advice.
Yeah,
like he's like kind of like therapizing them about like what Meri really wants in her couch.
Right,
like,
talking about how people like to choose what they're comfortable with, and they don't want to deviate too much from what they know, and that's reflected in their furniture buying choices. He just had some real psychology behind it. So
it's what they grew up with. This whole thing. But Theo then he's like, let me drop you a bombshell or something. He's like got a big reveal about the couch he recommends for Meri, and it is an even equally fugly, I'll say. I don't know if it was even fuglier.
It's a different style, at least.
It's a real. So the other one was like an overstuffed, really gaudy couch. This one was like a bench.
Yeah.
It had no arms.
No arms.
It had no arms on it, and it was curved, and it was like beige suede, and it was like almost what you'd call like 2010 minimalist. Yeah. Like today, minimalist would be something very different, but this was like still very fugly beige.
I could imagine taking a nap on that couch. And all I want personally is a couch that I enjoy sitting on and napping on. And that one does not fit the bill.
I was shocked because they took turns laying on it. I'm like, that can't be comfortable. It doesn't look like it's soft. It doesn't look. You can't lean on a dang arm. You can't put a pillow on the armrest and kind of like cuddle up and sleep.
Because they sat down and Meri and Kody sat down and we're trying to like, this is how we'd sit if we're cuddling watching TV. And I was like, oh, you don't look comfortable. Like when they were doing that, I was like, no, that doesn't look natural. It doesn't look comfortable for you to be snuggling. Like, And Kody loved it, of course.
And there's a lot of like, again, therapy about why Meri can't decide between this couch and the other couch. Back in the confessional with the adults, Robyn goes, "You're one complicated gal." And she goes on this whole thing of, "You've got a deep and rich family history, and that's very important too." But then there's Wild Meri. And Wild Meri is hot, and she's young, and she's happening. And then she goes, "Well, yeah, I mean, look at these toes." And they show her toenails, which are like a dark color. So
it
I don't
looks
know.
like
I
a
guess
dark
that's
green
hot.
to me. I mean, I could be wrong, but just looked like a.
I wasn't sure what the message of the toenails really was
I think the
supposed to
fact
be,
that she had them
but
painted in the first place.
oh, painted toenails was hot and
I
happening.
guess.
Well, basically, Robyn, I think, is trying to say that Meri likes traditional old things, aka that fugly couch, and she also likes to be modern and hip too, aka that curved bench couch without any arms on.
I don't know how it really could just be between those two couches. You did have several others they could have chose from. Why just these two?
Yeah, it was a humongous. I was very impressed with the selection of this. If they had a used furniture store of that size, I would just be.
You wouldn't need to go anywhere else.
Not,
like they had everything you need. I mean, they had every kind of furniture. You know,
everyone walked away with something. And yeah, and it's also two polar opposites. These couches.
There wasn't like somewhere they could have met in the middle.
No, yeah, like a less fugly, overstuffed, comfortable couch. I guess Kody kind of just decides, or everybody decides on the more modern beige couch.
Yeah, Meri's a little bit salty about it.
Yeah, they're like moving it in to the house, and she goes, "Oh, there's the couch I didn't pick."
I'm like, yeah, she's definitely over it.
I'm pretty sure she either exchanges it, or also buys,
or gets a new one rather quickly,
or buys the other one also. I swear I recognize that other couch, because
I guess we're gonna have to see.
That's a real cliffhanger for me,
right? That's the cliffhanger we all care about.
That's what we're waiting for. It's not the gender reveal. Got that already.
And with bated breath, what does Meri do with the couch?
But I also kind of recognize that beige one that they buy too. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking the couches.
Maybe it's just that you saw them both in this episode, but
11 years ago, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it must have really made an impression on you, though, for you to have remembered the couch.
I guess so.
Also, so they had all their furniture and stuff delivered, and I really was like, how much did they end up spending? I know it was a used furniture store then, but I mean, goodness sakes, like furniture is not cheap.
No.
And they furnished all their, each one of them had like 4 rooms basically they furnished. I was like, you guys must have really forked over some cash here this day.
Well, Christine gets a full bed set. That's like all it looks. I can't judge the quality. It looks like all solid wood. Like she's got humongous. It's got 4 pillars on it that almost go to the ceiling. Robyn gets like big dressers, and then Meri got the least. She just got like the couch from what we saw. She must have got
and those chairs.
Oh,
she got some chairs.
I missed that, I guess. And Janelle pretty much decorates her whole living room, and it looks totally finished, which was impressive.
Which Janelle's is cowboy themed?
Yeah, that was random. Is she also from Wyoming?
I could see it.
Yeah. I can't remember.
I don't know if she is, but that would kind of make... Because she didn't grow up in FLDS, at least, so maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess...
But yeah, for whatever reason, she went with the cowboy western theme for her living room.
Yeah, it is random. But it's decorated.
And like a cowboy boot lamp. Like
yeah, I didn't see that. That's bad.
I know. I was like, okay, this is why Janelle doesn't decorate.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Christine picking out a cowboy boot lamp, to be honest, too.
If she likes it, great.
It's decorated. It looks like a room that's complete as opposed to what she had before, which was like a room with a couch in it. So,
yeah,
whatever.
So,
I guess even so, they had money left over.
Yeah,
for all that, because they then decide they're gonna go buy Kody his own clad-out ring. Did I skip something?
I'm kind of surprised that he didn't have one earlier than this, given how important it is for them. I am a little bit surprised that they didn't have one for him.
I mean, I thought that was kind of like a thing for them, like a sister thing, like a sister wife thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, it's kind of weird that like they're making it now which is nice. It's a nice gesture and it makes sense.
Yeah, I suppose.
Because I guess they did say he doesn't really have a wedding ring that's like from all of them. So that's kind of what they were.
Has he just been wearing like a band, like a simple wedding band?
I assume just the one that he got when he married Meri, right? And then just
Yeah, I guess that is a little weird then if, 3 other weddings and not have something to kind of commemorate that.
Yeah, it makes sense to want to like have them all gift him something, which so they go to this jewelry. Didn't catch the name of the jewelry store, did you?
I don't think I did.
Okay, it was like
did you catch
it? It was like Brandon Ashley or something random like that. I don't know. Not important. They had a selection of men's cloud rings, which looked like women's cloud rings, except for the one they picked out for him, which they were like, just like that is the one. It was like this big, bulky, like had diamonds in it, and I was like, yikes! Not for this guy, not for this gal. But
did it not look? You know how like I don't know if they have a certain name, but you know when people buy those like skull rings.
Oh yeah.
That was my thought. Like if you saw it from further away, you would think it was like one of those skull rings.
The way like the hands kind of like carve out into it and stuff because it's a clad ring.
Yeah,
like 2 little hands and a heart and a crown,
with the little diamonds on top.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of looked that way to me. So I don't know if those kind of rings, if they have a name or whatever the hell they are, but
I don't,
or if they're just skull rings. But.
Yeah, I'm not big on like men's jewelry generally. I just like it's just not for me. The flashier, the less I'm like into it. And so they had to. This cloud ring had 3 diamonds. They had to add a 4th to represent all the wives.
Yeah.
And I was just like, all right. I mean, he loved it. They presented to him at dinner, and he's like just stunned. He's like, I'm picky. I usually am not impressed with gifts, but this is amazing. So he loves it, which is great. That I guess that's mission accomplished.
Yeah.
But yeah, so now they all have a cloud ring, and they made this. And also, side note. The jeweler, they're like, can we add another diamond? They're like, yeah, sure. Like, when can we have it? And they're like, 5:30? Like, I've never seen a turnaround time quite like that before.
You know what? I guess, again, looking at it, it was the recession. Maybe they weren't that busy. They're like, oh, thank God someone came in and needed a ring.
Bought a tiny diamond, so that adds some sort of, expense or whatever.
Yeah, however much you charge for a tiny diamond, I don't know, but
yeah, I was like, wow, you must not be very busy because I take Meri to get clean and I have to leave it there for the weekend. Like it's like a long
right. They're like, nope, you can get it today
with this new diamond added to it. So it was a sweet gesture. It was nice. They all unanimously were like, yep, that's the one. They all were very confident and he loved it.
Yeah, that they didn't have any disagreement. They all were like good with that one. So that was rare and good.
Yeah. Oh, and we just get another look at like all the bedrooms in the house, I guess. Basically, we talked.
Oh, I have about Janelle calling Robyn a damsel.
Yeah. Bold move, Janelle.
Mm-hmm.
They're like in the confessional, right?
Yeah. Because she's talking about how her relationship, I guess, differs than Robyn and Kody's relationship.
Right. Yep.
And yeah, she's like, Robyn's, I thought of her, like, she's more of, like, a damsel wanting Kody to just, like, do things for her that she could do herself, kind of deal, and that Janelle does herself, because Janelle's independent. And I was like, oh, dang, Janelle, just throwing it down.
Yeah. And Robyn's there, and she's laughing, right? Like, she's like, doesn't seem like this isn't new information to Robyn that she's finding out, right? Because I was like, wow, I'm just throwing it out there. She goes, when she would first see the way that Robyn runs her relationship with Kody, is how she phrased it. I was like, oh, that feels like shots fired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Robyn didn't see. She was either uncomfortable laughing or she was like, yeah, I know.
I could see it going either way. Like,
well, the thing is, it came back around because she's really complimenting Robyn on like the way that she creates like tenderness in their relationship,
like more of a connection with them.
She's like, oh, I see now why there's value in that, I guess. So it's sort of a compliment. Like
I guess it's Robyn like making Kody feel needed, whereas Janelle actually does not need Kody.
Right.
And like we see this in more recent seasons that she does not need him. Like
she thrives on her own.
So I mean, which I think that's awesome. But I mean, I guess for Kody having multiple wives, it would be more tempting for him to go where he feels more needed.
Yeah, for sure. Um,
So
so I guess this is like a good time in their relation. Like they say, it's like a reset for them. This move to Vegas has been a reset for Janelle and Kody's relationship, where they don't have work to talk about. They don't have work to go off to, so their time together is a lot more like figuring out how to have a relationship that's not just bros, but also romantic, like they say.
yeah,
It's sweet. It's
yeah.
nice. Um, that's kind of where I end. Did you have anything else?
I just had 2 notes on how they decorated their homes. Because I felt like Meri's with her bench couch and the chairs and the little like coffee table with rocks on it or whatever. I was like, oh, this kind of looks like a counseling waiting room. Like,
When he said the rocks, that's what I didn't even notice the rocks, but that made me think of that when he said
you know, like the little fountain with the.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay,
With like
if she
thrifted
likes
together,
it,
yeah, with like thrifted together furniture.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, cool. And then, did you notice Robyn's little on her nightstand, her little neon palm tree?
I did not.
Okay, well, I did because I had that same palm
Oh,
tree.
really? Is it just like from Kohl's or something?
I don't know where I got it, but my childhood bedroom, I had it painted when I was like 10 years old or something. I had it painted like a beach
Mm.
and with palm trees and the ocean and stuff. So then I got that little neon palm tree light as my night light, but
Cute.
then it broke, like
Yeah.
snapped. The neon snapped and don't have it anymore. It's fine. It's not like it was stylish, but I just was like, oh, weird. I had that too as a child. Like,
That's funny. I'll have to look back at that.
yeah.
But yeah, Christine's like real giddy about her room.
Yeah. Yeah. She
She
loves it.
she loves it. She really wants like Kody to have a reaction. She keeps like looking back to him to be like, did you see it? Like,
You love it too, right?
and he's just like, cool. And it's like, oh man, just know it again. It's only because we just watched this last season where like her room is so important to her. But I'm like, oh, this is a sign. This is where she's like really wants you to like love this space and feel some kind of feeling about it, and like her, and he's
Yep.
not. I'm like,
I know.
again.
It's kind of incredible that you can see it from this early.
Isn't
But
it so weird? That's
yeah.
small of a thing. I wouldn't. That's not what I would have been looking for. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have been looking for like when
Because
she.
I would have just thought, like, oh, it's just like typical guy, like, doesn't care about the decoration, you know, whatever. But there is potentially more to it than just that.
Yeah,
With those two, at least.
like she for sure wants him to be like, let's give it a spin. This big old bed. You know what I mean?
Like in that bed.
It's like very like dark and plush, and like the sheets are like the comforter is like a velvet looking, which looks horrifying to me. Like that texture, hate that so much.
I know.
Me personally, but
Yeah.
anyways, it's very like
Yeah.
luxurious and like we'll call it sensual. I don't know. It's a huge.
Okay.
It's a 4-pillar bed. It's huge and it's like black and it takes up this whole room. And she's just like, look at it, look at it, look at it, and like, so what do you think? And he's just like, yeah.
Yeah, nice. Mm-hmm.
You know, it just, and I'm so probably projecting on her because of her last season, but
Maybe not, though. I mean,
maybe not. Just like Leo, like I don't know, but like I am projecting a little bit because of what we know now. You know, it's the same. So,
and it might be something like too that they were doing subconsciously. You know, like it's not something even they were aware of like at the time. But it's
like
just
if she watched back,
if
I
someone
wonder if
filmed
she
our lives and the way we acted in certain moments, I'm sure there would be really telling moments that define who we are present day. So
for sure. We don't have that though, so I get to do it to them. Where I'm like,
thank God we don't have that, but you know they
gosh.
do. So,
so I guess we'll go on to see. I did watch a little bit of the next episode, of course, because I've just been loving getting back into the show. I love it. I genuinely love this show so much. I can't explain it. It's just comfort.
It's just like I get excited because I want to talk about it. Like because it's hard for me not when we're watching. It's hard for me not to just like text you and be like, so this part I was thinking, you know, I'd be like, no, just save it for recording.
I try to pick like one thing that I like. I message you about at work. That's like
where you have like a brief conversation about it, and then like okay, but
like, well, what'd you think about whatever? And then it's like okay, yeah. But yeah, so we do. it's a good one. We're gonna have to wait 2 weeks now to record again, so it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
One coming up, so
Yeah.
Right. Just get ready for the next season to come out. What, 17 will it be?
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait. We have like
so excited.
I just can't wait. Also, this is not related to you so much, but the next season of Kardashians comes out in September too. So I'm gonna just be like living my reality show dreams.
Right.
September.
That's perfect. And then because like the weather will be getting cooler, so you're gonna want to stay in more. And perfect timing.
Perfect. All right.
Alrighty.
Well, I suppose that's about it.
Talk to you later.
Bye.